In Lebanon, the health ministry reported at least 15 people killed in latest Israeli shelling. In the U.S., the Justice Department launched an investigation of the Trousdale Correctional Facility in Tennessee for human rights violations and prisoners' abuse. And in Russia, military authorities announced the liberation of the Mikhailivka town, making progress in liberating the Donbas region. Hello, welcome from the south. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Lebanon, the health ministry reported at least 15 people killed in latest Israeli shelling. Israeli forces carried out illegal raids and attacks against the south and inner Lebanon territory. Local media reported that the Zionist occupation ordered Lebanese citizens to leave their homes and to move north of the Awali River. The conflict between Tel Aviv and Beirut worsened on October 1st after Israel launched a land invasion against southern Lebanon, which has caused at least 2,200 deaths and has left more than 10,000 wounded. The Lebanese resistance neutralized several Israeli incursion attempts south of the border. Hezbollah forces launched missiles at the Zionist military brigade attempting to invade a village. The operation destroyed several explosive devices as well as an armored vehicle. The two sides exchanged fire, resulting in casualties among Israeli forces. The resistance has been carrying out actions against military targets for several weeks now. As a result, Tel Aviv forces still do not control any of the strategic hills they have tried to take over. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, demanded that the United Nations evacuate the personnel of the interim force in Lebanon. Netanyahu reiterated his call to the United Nations to withdraw from the territories of southern Lebanon. Likewise, the head of government in Tel Aviv also rejected requests made by 34 countries which condemned the attacks against United Nations personnel and asked to implement a ceasefire with the Lebanese resistance Hezbollah. Netanyahu rejected the international pressure and assured that he will continue to take actions to guarantee the security of Israel. He is in the middle of an escalation in the region due to Tel Aviv's aggression against Palestine, Lebanon, and Iran. In this regard, Pope Francis called for respect for the United Nations peacekeeping forces in Lebanon after the recent Israeli attacks. In addition, the religious leader made an appeal for the ending of hostilities in the Middle East and assured that war is at defeat. This October 13th, the Pope prayed for the victims and for the displaced and for the release of the hostages.
I am close to all the people involved, Palestine, Israel, Lebanon, to whom I ask for the respect of the United Nations peacekeepers.
And in Palestine, the Israeli aggression has killed more than 42,227 people to date and wounded over 98,000 others. Local authorities reported that Israeli occupation forces committed 4 massacres in the last 24 hours. Health authorities registered at least 32 Palestinians killed in the latest Zionist attacks. Local media denounced that Israel is shelling shelters and residential homes in northern Gaza, injuring hundreds. Authorities also denounced that occupation forces prevent the movement of emergency teams, making it difficult to rescue the wounded and those trapped under rubble. And hundreds of Israelis protested in the streets of Tel Aviv against the government of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. During the gathering, demonstrators urged the Israeli government to establish an agreement with the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas for the exchange of hostages. They also condemned Netanyahu's insistence on the genocide against the Palestinian people. Likewise, protests blockaded several highways in response to the refusal of Netanyahu administration to take back their families.
Our government and our Prime Minister have took this Yom Kippur and really looked deep in and admitted to himself, and I hope that this admit would go out to the press, that there were times that there was a deal on the table and he could have took it and he could have released the hostages, and we know that also now there is a deal on the table.
Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Bolivia's Vice President David Choquehuanca has called on the country to devise a new state, one without elites of any tendency and with guidelines capable of overcoming divisions. He made the statement at a youth meeting to advance decolonization and depatriarchalization. Choquehuanca said that it is no longer a time for divisions and that the indigenous peoples demand their own plurinational communitarian administration system to do away with neoliberal public administration, a system in which social movements may play a more direct role.
A new state that will govern for all, because when you govern for one part of the people you lose the other part. The Crimean doctrine is our guide because it seeks a government of all, based on consensual decisions. Consensus does not impose what the leader wants. Consensus is to dialogue what is necessary to reach the center, where ideas and solutions for the security and survival of all our peoples intersect.
In Bolivia, the social organizations linked to the Movement for Socialism grouped in the so-called Unity Pact have agreed to implement an indefinite national road blockade to safeguard the freedom of former President Evo Morales. The decision was prompted by an arrest warrant issued by the Tarija District Prosecutor's Office, southeast of the country. The proposed measure was announced on Saturday at the end of a meeting in the city of Sacaba, in the department of Cochabamba. Therefore, on Monday, October 14th, the road blockades will take place in order to safeguard the freedom, integrity, and to prevent the kidnapping of former President Evo Morales. The President of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, has called on everyone to follow the example of General Francisco Morazan while committing herself to guarantee free, fair, and transparent elections. During the promotion ceremony of the National Armed Forces, a day in which the country commemorates the birth of the national hero, the President ratified that free and transparent elections are assured. In her speech, inspired by the example and principles of Francisco Morazan, she called on everyone to be loyal to the homeland and listed a series of laws and agreements that have been reached during her administration and that protect and guarantee the sovereignty and wealth of the country. Meanwhile, in the Dominican Republic, at least 57.3% of the population rejects a tax reform proposed by Luis Abinader administration. A public opinion poll indicates that in October, only 19.4% of Dominicans supported said reform, while 23.3% of people still had no definite opinion on it. The current administration has put forward a bill to implement a fiscal reform which foresees increases in taxes on services, goods, and products. On the other hand, some say a fiscal reform is necessary, but they disagree with the formulas proposed by the executive to increase revenues, like eliminating tax breaks in sectors such as tourism, the textile industry, free zones, and the film industry. The U.S. Department of Justice announced an investigation of the Trousdale Correctional Facility in Tennessee for human rights violations and prisoner abuse. Prisoners and family members report brutal mistreatment, medical neglect, and cruelty at the prisons operated by Court Civic Corrections Corporation. As Hill Dixon, a former officer at the facility, has been speaking out for years about the abuses he witnessed firsthand as a prison employee. Likewise, prisoners' rights organizations have asked the Justice Department to investigate the violations committed against inmates. Relatives of the victims warned that Court Civic agreed to pay millions of dollars to the prisoners and their families to drop the abuse and neglect charges.
We want something done. We want somebody to be accountable for these deaths and these minds and these people that they are ruining. They did a crime, and they are supposed to serve their time, but it does not mean they have to lose their entire mind or their life for what they did.
I think that the most significant thing that I saw was the medical neglect. I mean, I saw prisoners with open, gaping wounds on their body, and I would, sign on as a witness that they were unable to get medical care because that's all I could do.
Again, it was an open secret, and yet the state of Tennessee inexplicably failed to do anything. So that's when people began to reach out, I think, and ask the department to step in.
In the United States as well, a second shooting in less than 12 hours took place in Oklahoma in the southern part of the country, leaving 1 dead and 12 wounded. The incident was reported at 12:30 a.m. local time, according to Sergeant John Sakuta, one of the police officers who responded to the call. The aggression occurred after a strong argument between the attendees of a party. In the parking lot, the area the weapons came out and deadly result was produced. The police have not informed neither the age nor the sex of the wounded. The same source states that there are detainees for the fact without offering further details. According to the Armed Violence Archive, this will be the 416th mass shooting so far in the year 2024. And the White House released the medical report of Kamala Harris, candidate for the presidency of the United States, who urged Republican Donald Trump to do the same. According to the report signed by Dr. Joshua Simmons, Harris is in good health, physical and mental health, to carry out her duties. The Democrat candidate took aim at her, accusing him of lack of transparency by not providing official information about his physical and mental health. In response, the businessman's campaign managers assured that their candidate is in good condition. We now have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. Russia says it has liberated the Mikhailovka town and is making progress in liberating the Donbas region. The Russian Ministry of Defense has announced that Russian troops are moving towards the town of Krasnoarmeysk, which is in the hands of the Ukrainian army. According to the Russian Ministry of Defense, the Krasnoarmeysk town is strategic because of its geographical position and for its mineral reserves. If Moscow's army manages to occupy the city, Kiev's economy will sustain a blow because of the city's coal deposits, which are instrumental for the country's steel and iron industry. The Angolan government increases rice production through technical assistance and promotion program. National Forestry Director and spokesman for the 2024-2025 agricultural campaign, Domingos Veloso, said grain production exceeded 40,000 tons. The official emphasized the importance of soil and water conditions, so he urged to train families engaged in agricultural activities to obtain a better yield. The government estimates to prepare some 6 million hectares of land, as well as more than 11,000 tons of seeds and 50,000 tons of fertilizers to support the country's producers. In Panama, the government has issued a yellow alert due to increasing strong winds and heavy rainfall in several regions of the country. The National Zero Protection System warned about the possible occurrence of floods due to the proximity of a forming storm, which will affect the central part of the country. According to forecasts, October 16th through the 21st, they expect the occurrence of over 5-meter high tides, which could complicate conditions on the coast. Therefore, the Ministry of Environment has called off all tourist activities in coastal areas and urges people to take the necessary precautions to face such weather conditions. On October 12th in Beijing, the National Art Exhibition to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China was inaugurated. The exhibition, entitled Ode to the Nation, shows more than 400 works of modern and contemporary art covering a variety of traditional artistic genres of Chinese culture. The event is organized by the National Academy of Painting of China and the Social Education Program Center of the China Media Group. The aim of the exhibition is to present the artistic expressions of different periods and to show the transformations that Chinese art has undergone over the years.
Artists have different forms of expression in different periods, but they share a common love for their motherland. This exhibition allows visitors to see the great changes and development of Chinese art as well as Chinese society over the past 75 years. Just like our country, the fine art industry in China is also thriving. There is a wide variety of styles of famous artists in China, providing visual enjoyment and promoting aesthetic education for the public.
Nicaragua celebrates the second marimba festival, a musical instrument representative of the cultural heritage of this Central American country.
En la ciudad de Masaya,
in the city of Masaya, known as the cradle of Nicaraguan folklore, the second Marimba 2024 festival was held, an event that highlights the marimba as a traditional instrument that is also considered an indigenous piano and cultural symbol of Nicaragua.
Y símbolo cultural de Nicaragua.
It is a melodic percussion instrument with 22 keys tuned in our major scale. It is said that the marimba has more than 180 years here in this area of Nicaragua. The marimba is practically a national instrument of Nicaragua.
The art of playing the marimba is a talent that has been passed down from generation to generation, forming part of the Nicaraguan cultural legacy.
This is a gift that God has already given me. I feel proud to walk with this marimba, which is a tradition that should not be lost. It is the pride of Nicaragua, at least in Masaya is where all the folklore was born.
It's the first time, and I'm happy because it's something very valuable for the values of those who are growing up. I love it. I am happy because we are planning to put it in a class that our government is giving to the children, so I know what kind of instrument he might like to play.
I think it is very important to maintain the culture and transmit it to the new generations. For example, my father gave it to me. I will transmit it to my son, and it is important that people and children learn how it is executed because it is an honor for the nation.
The government of Nicaragua promotes this type of activities with the purpose of preserving and promoting the cultural richness of the people, ensuring that these traditions live on and are strengthened in the new generations.
This is where we highlight our cultural heritage with what our government promotes: the rescue and preservation of our culture, a fundamental tradition that also distinguishes us not only at the departmental level, but also at the international level.
With ancestral roots, the marimba has accompanied festivities and celebrations throughout the country, becoming a symbol of cultural identity. Let's discover together the history, rhythms, and magic that make the marimba the pride of Nicaragua.
Kenia Doña, teleSUR, Nicaragua.
Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.